Kensil Culture, Puppets, Props, Puns, Podcasts.
I finally put down the guitar. You know, my whole first year in comedy, I wore the guitar for every second. And then the East Side Comedy Club opened up, and we each got to MC one night of the week because Richie had Jackie Mason. So I went up to start the show with my guitar and told my jokes and played my guitar and then put it in the stand. And then after the first act, I said, well, it's pretty stupid to go up there and put on my guitar and turn around and say, all right, here's Jim Myers, and turn around and put down the guitar. So I just went up there and didn't take the guitar out of the stand. And it was like the light bulb went off. Like, how cool is this? I'm standing at the microphone. I got nothing cramping me in. And that was that. I still played the guitar, but I didn't. That's where I went from a guitar player who told jokes to a joke teller that played the guitar,
I try to go out without my crutch. I mean, props, without that, sort of thing. And I do all right with it, but I have to admit that I've stolen one of your jokes that it was, if you want, when I only need it, okay?
Well, you better be careful because when the guy that I stole it from finds out.
It was, the one, look down, okay? You want a joke? Look down,
that's actually something I actually made up, believe it or not. You want to laugh? Look down. That was a heckler, one of my heckler.
Oh, shit.
I don't use those anymore. I was looking at my old heckler comments. Some of them got pretty intricate. It was like, it's a shame you don't have a glass belly button, so when your head was this far up your ass, you could look out and see what we're doing.
Now, I'll never remember that one, but I did that a couple times, and it shuts them up. It shuts them up because it makes them deal with their manhood right there,
Or the head explodes trying to figure it out. We used to get so much stuff at the Stern Show. They would send us everything. And at some point, we had a sneaker sponsor. And they found out everybody's sizes, and they sent us a bunch of sneakers. That's what they did. And I don't know what the sneaker sponsor was, but I got like 3 pairs of sneakers that were blue. One was green, one was blue, and one was red. But they were like plastic. Like they were this weird, ugly stuff, these bright fluorescent colors. So I just threw them in my closet. And then one Christmas I came out wearing, a pair of black pants and a white shirt. And my wife, Nancy, said, that's not too festive. Where's the green? Where's the red? I said, what? I said, hold on. And I said, wait a minute. And I looked in the closet and I took out these horrible red shoes, almost like Dorothy's slippers, I put them on and everybody liked them so much. I said, you know what? I'm going to wear these on stage. And for a couple of years, I wore them on stage and they were so great because people couldn't help but comment. It was like, it lured the hecklers. And it's on one of my CDs because I was ready. And you can hear them. They say, nice shoes. I said, yeah. Your mother gave them to me because I made her come faster than Dennis Rodman.
Oh, my God.
Said, how is she tonight? Is she working or is she resting her snatch?
I guess the sneakers weren't.
Nuts. And I just almost like I set a bear trap,
The sneakers weren't the only ones with a tongue. All right. But unbelievable.
Do you got it? I'm sure everybody knows the story. I asked somebody about this, and they said they were actually there that night. The story about Dennis Wolfberg and the
Dennis Wolfberg, yes, that was at the Comedy Works on top of the Middle East restaurant.
Right, with the fake door, with the fake
David,
wall.
and Wolfberg Okay. I remember he lost all his. I had to lend him clothes, okay, because he got robbed on the way there or something like that. But he was there that night. He had he was so funny and so he was just making it when he passed. Okay,
And he would end his show with that goddamn American Pie that lasts on and on and on. And when he was done, he got such a huge ovation. He was in such fucking euphoria that when he grabbed the blind piano player, he was in another world. And he
was waving like this. He was waving to the crowd like this, and the guy went boom and
walked him right.
What would happen?
There was Dennis was on stage, and he's getting a big ovation, and
the piano
there was a piano player. We used to have a piano player when when comedy clubs actually had a piano player. That's and
he came out to accompany Dennis on that song. That's why he was still on stage. And Wolfberg was supposed to walk him, off the stage with him. So it was the classic thing where Wolfberg went through the door and the guy went into the wall. It was like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
And he hit a beam. I know that stage. I was on it a billion times. He hit a beam, a 2x4, and it went bonk. Okay, it was like somebody got a triple. You know what I mean? You could that same Jack wood hitting wood or something like that.
There actually was a blind comedian in Philadelphia at that time, and he wasn't faking it. And the MC would bring him on stage and have him face the curtain.
And
he picked up on it. It was part of his act, but it's just hilarious.
Now, do you remember the Middle East restaurant? The stage was the show was on like the third floor.
Yep.
If you had to take a leak, you had to go downstairs and walk through the restaurant and walk past the belly dancer.
Yeah.
Who remembers? You tell that story? Yeah. To take a leak, you had to go downstairs, unless you wanted to walk all the way through the crowd to the front. It was just so much easier. These people are eating dinner, and there's a girl, and not an especially attractive girl with a belly.
It's a shaky business.
On her belly than on her pussy.
They were artists. Danny Thomas used to go there and see them. Okay, they were Lebanese, and Danny Thomas, and I think Telly Savalas was there, and all sorts of celebrities used to come there in the 70s. That was a big thing. But belly dancing. They didn't have that. Here.
Now, do you know? I'm sure you guys know all this stuff, but I got to make sure. You guys know the Stern Show. I'm sure you saw Private Parts.
Uh-huh.
And the famous story of the girl coming on the show and getting the first girl that got totally naked on the radio.
And what happened? She got totally naked on Stern Show?
Listen, this is crazy. If you don't know this, you're going to go wild.
Wow, I can't wait.
I never listened to the Stern Show in all the years I was on it. All whenever they played best of since I left it, I just didn't. In the old days when I used to listen, I'd play my Eagles cassettes or listen to my comedy. I never listened to the radio except 1010 Wins once in a while. But when I first started on the show, when I had first gone on there, maybe the first month or so, I was working once a week on Tuesdays. And I figured, when they called me, I didn't know where I was going. So I said, let me listen to this a little bit to get an idea of what it's all about. And it's so funny because I remember, like, where were you when Kennedy got killed, right?
Right.
I know exactly where I was when I heard this, because I was on a step stool in the kitchen of the house we were renting, and I was fixing something. And if you're talking about trying to catch a hummingbird without its wings moving, I just didn't fix anything. So I'm on a stool, and Gary's got. It turns out, I guess there was a couple girls at the same time, but your memory blurs. But I didn't even know I don't think it was even Gary yet. I think it was still Boy Lee, and there was a girl there that wanted to get naked for Howard. And he said, bring her in. And I didn't know anything. Everything that happened on that show, the farting in the girls' faces and all that stuff, that all really happened. The only thing that wasn't true about that show is he would exaggerate what they looked like. If he said they were a 10, they were usually like a 3. But the girl was really there with no clothes on.
Good press. Yeah.
So this girl comes in, and I'm on a stool. And he says, who are you? And she says, my name is Maria. I work the door, and I'm a comedian at the Comedy Factory outlet in Philadelphia. And my favorite comedian is Jackie Martling. And I almost fell off the stool. I've gone back and tried to find a copy of that. They must have erased that so fast your head spun, or at least in retrospect. But it was Maria who worked. I don't know if you remember. She worked the door at the Comedy Factory outlet. She was a little, really pretty Italian girl. I never got near her because I was never in town long enough. I know Rich Jenny used to bang the hell out of her.
She married. Stu
Bykowski.
Stu Bykowski, yes.
Stern Show. He wrote horrible things about the Stern Show.
Of course he was, because he was filling out. I think he was connected with those radio people that that might have blemished your name out there, in Philly. I want you back.
I was working an autograph show years ago, and this guy came up and said, Jackie, me and my brother are opening a club called Helium in Philadelphia. We really need you to come work there. Would you work there? I said, of course. I love Philadelphia. I always did really well there. I did my first CD at the Funny Bone on South Street, blah, blah, blah. And then I never heard from him. And I've never been able to get through to anybody or find out who hates me or whether they're hip enough,
years.
Do you remember their name?
The Grossman brothers.
The Grossman brothers. Okay.
Yeah, but
he called me once. I play there once in a while, but it's like private gigs or something like that. And they get a lot of the internet people. You know what I mean? The people out there who have YouTube followers.
Right? Who aren't funny at all. Listen, I would just love to know why they won't book me. Maybe they think I'm too expensive, which I'm not. I'm at the stage now where how much does it cost? When can you get here? You know what I mean? But I would love to know, because I love working Philly. I worked at Philly casino place, live casino.
Parks.
When we almost packed it and made a real lot of money. I'm like, how are they hiring me and this guy isn't?
Because Parks is run by a comedian, and he's the one who does the booking. It's not really it's not as corporate or money making, and he got good taste.
Jack, it's weird. I look at their billboard of the headshots of upcoming people, and I'd like to think we know
at Helium.
I have no idea. It says star of so and so podcast, funny TikTok video. I mean, all right, they pull them in, I guess. I don't know.
There's so many people in Philly that would come out.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because when I work these other places, they're like an hour and a half out of town. People aren't going to drive that, especially not the people that were seeing me in 1985.
How about the Reverend Bob Levy? I hear you gave him his name.
What happened was when Howard first called me up, I sent my records to him, and at some point, I guess him and Fred listened to the records, and they called me up and said, "Hey, why don't you come in and help us judge a talent show? We're doing a talent show over the telephone." I didn't know who this guy was, but I knew it was 75 Rockefeller Plaza. I'm going, because I had been turned on to him by Harry Montecrusos from Garvin's in Washington, D.C. He said, "Hey, this guy just got fired, and he's going to NBC. I bet you guys would hit it off because he's crazy." So I go in.
They offered me coke down there at that Garvin's,
Oh God! So I went in there to do the show, and he sat there and laughed for 4 hours. And at the end of the day, Howard said, "Man, you're a lot of fun. Why don't you come back next week?" I said, "Sure." And he was promoting I still got 516-922 wine. That joke line has been going for 44 years. I still got it's down to one line, but I just can't get rid of it. So he promoted it. Hey, this is Jackie 9221 Martling. And then after like the second week I came on, he called me and he said, Jackie, I got some bad news. I said, well, it was fun while it lasted, and he said, I can't promote that joke line of yours anymore because it's so dirty. They got a lot of complaints. I said, that's it? He said, yeah. I said, fuck the joke line. Are you kidding? And so I went in. So all of a sudden I realized I'm going in on Tuesdays. It's costing me, I don't know, gas wasn't so bad, but it's, like $25 or $30 to park. I got no money. I'm working at Governor's. We're hosting, but, and I got the bright idea. I called Mark from Rascals and said, listen, I'm working every Tuesday at the Stern Show and I have, an open field to promote. Why don't we have an open mic night? I'll host it. I'll promote it on the Stern Show and you can give me money. Even if nobody shows up, it's worth it to you just to hear, Jackie's going to be at Rascals in West Orange and Mark's a businessman. Sure. So we started having open mic night there for, I don't know whether it lasted 6 months or a year or whatever. And it was like, open mic nights out of 15 people, you get like the same these 6, and then maybe these 6, and this guy come. And like the first week or two, this guy went up and he was so unfunny, but so absolutely, really, really disgusting. And I'm a dirty joke teller, and this guy was disgusting.
You get one in every crowd like that, don't you? There's always one guy who goes over the top.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
The next week, I just said, and this is the Reverend Bob Levy, because I thought that was really teeing him up for somebody. And then 20 years later, I hear there's a comedian named Reverend Bob Levy. I'm like, fuck! I gave him that name. Isn't that funny? I think that's fun, and he's a good guy.
Oh yeah.
I knew him when he was from around where I was from. Him and Voss. Voss was Dennis. What was it?
Dennis Ross.
Dennis Ross. Do you remember Dennis Ross?
Big, huge fat guy.
Yeah.
Oh shit! He died, right?
Yeah.
Jackie, I work with him, and he asked for a stool on stage. He sat on a stool. Then he asked for a second stool. He had to sit on 2 stools.
He tried to swallow a midget. And he got
He was from the same town that I was from, Cranford. Okay, Cranford, New Jersey, and he and Voss used to hang around with each other, and then they showed me where to go. Okay,
that's cool. Yeah, I remember him being, a reasonable enough guy. There was another guy in Massachusetts that was like almost the same.
Rossi.
Yeah. Wow.
Did you sleep in the cellar?
Of course. Not with him.
No, not with him. But if you did a gig for him, that's where I slept. I remember sleeping in the cellar. I thought I was getting a room, and I got the cellar.
I literally pretty sure I brought a girl there, which is not. It's not the way to impress somebody,
He was like 300 pounds, and there were rumors that he would relieve himself in jars. Okay. And you would stumble over one every now and then, But he would, he was a great guy. He was up in Springfield, Massachusetts, I think that was. But I hear you knew and were good friends with Les Paul. Okay.
He was my guy from. It's so funny because I just texted back and forth with Carrie Ash just before I came on with you. Carrie Ash was married to Sam Ash, whose grandfather was Sam Ash, like in Sam Ash Musical Instruments.
Uh-huh.
And she married his grandson, who was in charge of the whole operation. She was great. And she would always say, you got to come see Les Paul. You got to come. And there's also a promoter that's still around, Adam Sands. He's a real good guy. He does the Cutting Room and Triad, and he's been promoting stuff forever. In fact, I just booked a show at the Triad Thursday night, May 4th, I think. It's only 100 seats, so it should be easy to fill up. And it's funny. People say, "Are you retired?" I say, yeah, "I'm retired until the phone rings." Now I got to work at the Suffolk Theater on March 4th, so I'm kind of kicking ass a little.
You're a Renaissance man. You never retire.
Well, so this guy Adam Sands for years is telling me and Fred, you got to come see Les Paul. He's right at Iridium. He's right here in town. You would love him. We're like, yeah, right, yeah. And we're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. Like, we don't want to hear it. So then finally, I'm off the show, and Carrie calls me up and says, "You're coming to see Les Paul tonight. It's his 85th birthday. The Rolling Stones are going to be there. And if you don't come, I'm going to come to your apartment. I'm going to come drag you out by your ear and bring you." So me and Nancy are at my apartment. This is when the Iridium it wasn't at 51st and Broadway yet. It was at 63rd and Broadway at the bottom of I think the Empire Hotel or something.
Was it the Tuesdays or something like that?
No, it was Mondays. So she comes and picks us up at my apartment on 56th Street. And we go like 5 blocks, 5 short city blocks in her limo. And we go to see Les Paul. And Keith Richards was there in full battle array. I mean, with the dreadlocks and the colorful scarf. He was dressed as a rock star. He was there with his stepfather and his mother. Okay.
Wow.
Les Paul's 85th birthday. It's a tiny room. And I'm sitting there right on the side. Carrie had known him forever and ever because she knew everybody in the music business because, from Sam Ash. So this sounds made up, but we're sitting on the side, and little Adam, is walking Les Paul to the stage. And as they went past us, I swear on my mother, I heard him say to Adam, "Jackie the Joke Man's here tonight." What? Because old people don't sleep. I know my father used to listen to Bob Grant for hours and hours and hours.
Yep.
Lie there and they don't sleep. So he loved the Stern Show. He knew the Stern Show inside out. So he goes up on stage, and this is I'm off the Stern Show almost. I don't think I was. This is the year 2000. So I hadn't quit drinking yet. I quit drinking like next year. So I'm still drinking. I got maybe 2 or 3 Budweisers in me, which is the perfect place. I just wish I could spend my whole life 2 Budweisers in. You know what I mean? You never, once you go past that, but that's like, peak. So he goes up on stage, he plays his opening song, and he says, "Now I hear this fella is in the crowd tonight, Jackie the Joke Man. Come on up here." And I'm like, woo, wow. So I got 2 beers in me. And I go up there, and I'm telling you, I don't know if this happens to you, but you meet people that are very similar to someone you know well, and that can either work positive or negative, but you like them right away or you never like them. And I go up on stage, and this little old man, thinning red hair, thick glasses, a little arthritic, very slight. It was my father. I can even choke up as I'm telling you the story. I'm looking at my father like, holy shit. And he goes, "Well, so, so you're a joke guy." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I can't tell you. I'm so excited to see you, blah, blah, blah." He says, "Well, let me see what you got." I said, "No, look, Les, you really don't want to hear what I got." He said, No. I didn't know him. I didn't know he was a big dick joke guy. He told dirty jokes. And he was a real low-life, crazy man, but I did not know that. So here's this little old icon to the world, and Keith Richards is out in the audience. And so I said, "You don't want to hear what I got?" He says, "Whatever you got, we can handle it." What the fuck? And the place is jammed. I mean, jammed. Young people, old people, And I don't know what the joke was, but I told the funniest, dirtiest joke in my repertoire. And they went fucking nuts. He was like, he was shocked, laughing. He was thrilled. And I gave him a hug and said, "Thank you very much," And I went and sat down. And they cheered, right? And he was like, "Whoa." So he plays another song. He says, "All right, we got another special guest, Keith Richards from Rolling Stones. Come on up, Keith." The first fucking thing that Keith Richards said, I swear on my mother, he said to Les, it's going to be a little tough to follow that bloke.
Ah,
So he
Woo!
plays a song.
and his father was there.
He plays a song or whatever, and the crowd goes nuts. And after this, I went to see Les probably 50 or 60 times. I was on stage with him.
Wow.
And all the times I ever went to see him, he never, ever had somebody on stage and then brought them back up on stage. No matter who it was, he just did not do that. So he's up on stage, and Keith Richards gets done with a song. He plays another song, and you could see there was something kind of like itching at him. And he said, Jackie the Joke Man, come back up here. Come back up here, because he's intrigued by this thing. So I go back up on stage, and he goes, so tell me what you do. Now, I listen to the show. Now, you're sitting there, you're writing stuff for him as you go along. Now, I got to get the order of this right. When I went back up on stage, well, it turns out that Keith Richards' mother, and I can't believe we all don't know this. Keith Richards' mother was a blues singer, a famous blues singer. I never knew that before.
Had no idea.
Which means she's been around the block, with the musicians, so she's no walked out of church. So the first thing I said was, I went up on stage and I said, I just want to apologize, Keith. I would have never told that off-color joke if I knew your mother was in the audience, which is just being with a wink and a nod. And he stood up and said, yeah, well, I'll tell you something about your mom. And I said to the crowd, I'm getting heckled by a Rolling Stone. How fucking cool is that? And they went nuts. Okay. So they calmed down, and Les starts saying, so you write these jokes, and how's that work exactly? And I said, listen, Les, but Les, not Mr. Les. We're old friends now. We've been on stage 3 minutes, twice. I said, listen, it's your 85th birthday. It's a big thing. This is your crowd. This is people. They love you. They're here to hear your music and watch you play. Maybe some are Stern Show fans. Maybe a lot of them aren't. Do your show. Entertain your people. And when you're done with the show, we'll go to the bar and we'll have a beer. And we'll talk about the Stern Show. And you know what? Maybe Keith will even join us, And he's rich. Maybe he'll even pay. and if he hadn't got any money on him, maybe he could trade some of those fucking beads he's got in his head. I am telling you, the roof came off the fucking place. And when they calmed down, I said to the crowd, now I'm fucking with a Rolling Stone. How fucking cool am I? And by the time I sat down, they were still screaming, and Les was laughing. We were so solidified.
At the Iridium? Is it at the Iridium or?
No, it was called the Iridium, but it was up underneath the Empire. I think it's the Empire Hotel. It was under Marlowe's. It was actually called Marlowe's.
And he played a place called Fat Tuesdays. That
was long before I knew him. He played for like 20 years or something.
That's
but then he
where
was
I
under
used to see
Marlowe's, and then he moved to Iridium pretty quick after that.
This one isn't really a comedy question, but did you ever go see Woody Allen when he plays with the Monday nights at the?
You know what? When he played
at Michael's Pub.
Of course, I always wanted to, but I'll tell you a story about Woody Allen. He, Pips, of course.
Yeah, we were going to ask you about Pips.
Well, Pips. It's so funny because last night we're watching an old Seinfeld, and it was the one where Freddie Stoller couldn't remember meeting Elaine, and it made her nuts. Okay. And I said to Barbara, I said, Freddie Stoller is the guy who told me when I met him, he said, oh, you're the guy that can't work Pips because you drink too much.
He's blunt to the point.
I said, that place is the biggest hellhole of coke and heroin and drunks and lowlifes. And he said they wouldn't have you back because you were drunk. And I'm like, what kind of badge of courage is that? You can't work Pips. So Ray Garvey owned it by the end. And he was very ill. and the place was about to go under. And Ray Garvey was a cop, but he used to be assigned to guard Woody Allen movies. And Woody,
Right, he was in a bunch.
He put him little lines in the movies here and there, so him and Woody were friends. And then they made a movie to try and save. It was a movie about doing a show to save a club, but they were making the movie to try and save the club, which is just crazy. But they know everybody, so they got Pat Cooper and Colin Quinn and me and one of the pitchers from the Mets, and I forget who else, but it was crazy. And I was so thrilled to be part of this. And we're all going to do our acts. And it was so funny because Pat Cooper went up and they're trying to set up the shot, and he just ragged on everybody for 20 minutes.
He was actually like that. He was like that, wasn't he?
Yeah. And
I mean,
you
saw
around.
what you got. You got what you saw.
Right.
You know.
They said, all right, Pat, we're ready to roll. I said, what are you talking about? I just did it. I'm not doing it again. They said, no, we weren't ready. So he's not in the movie. So it's so funny. So one by one, everybody's going up. And the guy who's the director of photography on this movie, I think it's called The Last Laugh. It's on the web, you know. The guy who shot the movie was actually the camera operator for Woody Allen for like 20 years. This guy, Michael Green, great guy. And he would actually sit there and play chess with Woody in between takes when they were making a Woody Allen movie. And this one, Howard was really going off on Woody Allen all the time, and on Soon-Yi. And Michael said they'd be playing chess, and Woody'd say, what were they saying about me today? So Michael Green gets Woody Allen to do this movie. So Woody actually saw me go up there and do my 15 minutes of fucking horror, you know. And after I was done, he told me, he said it was so great. Michael said, so Woody, what'd you think of Jackie? And Woody Allen said, he's very funny. He's not my cup of tea. And the best thing of all, when the movie's just about done, they told me, go up and tell a bunch of dirty jokes because we want to shoot it through the window outside. So you're looking in through Pip's window and you see a guy on stage telling jokes, and we're going to run the credits. And I said, okay. So I go up there and I start rattling off these jokes, and like 3 or 4 of the guys from The Sopranos come in, you know, like Sharippa and John, the cook or whatever he was, and Tony Sirico, who literally spent time in prison for murder, you know, in real life.
Yeah, he was bad boy.
Rest in peace, Tony. I loved him. You know? But I come off stage, and they came in just as I'm telling my jokes. So they saw me do 15 minutes of crazy dirty jokes. And I come off the stage, and I come over and say, hey, Tony, it's nice to meet you. I'm a big fan. And he goes, you know, Jack, you're really fucking scary. I said, what? He says, those jokes, Jesus Christ, you're fucking scary. I said, Sirico, you went to jail for murder. I'm telling dirty jokes. I'm scary. I'm sorry, you're fucking scary.
And that's what he...
How perfect is that, you know?
A couple years ago, Whit and I did Danny Aiello's room in Hoboken.
Yeah.
And
upstairs in Hoboken. Did you do that place for him?
I never did that room, but Danny Aiello and me were pretty good friends. I got a scene in my reel. The last scene in my acting reel is with Danny. He's a great guy. Great guy.
I talked to him for hours about the old songs. He liked that I knew the old song. You know, I was throwing them out there and stuff like that. So I had a very, very good time with him. He was very nice to me. He was, you know, and a great guy.
One of the last times I saw him, you guys might know this. He was working on a one-man show, a musical about Al Capone in prison. And I was going to meet with this guy, Ron Alexenberg, because I was supposed to take over Joey Reynolds' show that he had at the bottom of the NASDAQ, right on Times Square. It was turning over because the guys that were working with him, you know, I thought you were buying the advertising. I thought, you know, one of these show business things. So they're thinking of giving it to me. So I'm going to meet with Ron. And he said, well, at first I got to meet Danny Aiello and a couple of his guys at Patsy's. You know, Patsy's, the Italian restaurant
Yeah.
right from my apartment.
Yeah.
He said, come to the meeting and then we'll go to lunch. So I go there and Ron's there with Danny Aiello. And they tell me they're working on a musical about Al Capone in prison. And I was sitting next to the guy. I didn't know it, but he was the guy that they had hired to do the music. And I said, he's going to do a musical about Al Capone in prison? Is this true? He says, I guess. He said, I just spent the last 3 days writing a song called Syphilis.
That's what I wish.
I swear to you.
Why
I
double
swear to you.
I?
I could not make that up. My God.
Oh, man.
It's rated VD.
That's hitting below the belt.
I think it might have gone far enough that it might even be on in the Google, you know, like, but of all the absurd.
They were going to do because he was in jail here in Philadelphia. He got caught with a gun at the train station, and he did a year in prison here in Philadelphia. And the prison's still there, and they preserved his cell and everything, and put everything in it.
Now, this is before show business.
No, this was after they had that big meeting of all the heads of state up in New York. You remember that? And all the criminals got together. I forget.
Oh, that's right. It's in a.
And
I vaguely remember that. The head.
And well, on the way back, he didn't want to get killed because they were going to kill him. So he made a deal with he got caught with a gun. So they put him in. But he had girls and food and
Jackie, you can tour this prison. It's really neat. It's called the Eastern State Penitentiary. It's still there. They have movies and festivals and tours. So I go with Wid a couple of years ago for the prison tour, and she shows us Al Capone's cell, the yard, the cafeteria, and all that. So she gets done in an hour tour, and she says, "Any questions?" And he says, "Is it true they didn't give the prisoners chocolate?" And she goes, "Why?" He goes, "So they wouldn't break out." I'm rubbing my head. I'm going like that.
Oh, that is so weird.
I walked into it. Okay, how can I do it? I've never,
Then the next day, he and I went to the Franklin Institute, it's a kids museum. They have a giant
heart there,
50-foot size heart that you can crawl through, little kids. So he and I actually do it. We go crawl through this giant recreation of a human heart. We get down the end, and a really cute little African-American girl, little yellow dress.
Little girl comes up and says,
she's to him, she goes, "Mister, is it crowded in there?" And she points to the giant heart, and he goes, "Yeah, it's congested."
I said, "That heart's congested," and to the little girl, and she does. But yeah, I mean, it's opportunities like that.
Hey, do you know the story of the world famous heart surgeon that passed away? And at his funeral, they had a huge heart made out of roses. And at the very end of the service, the heart opened up and his casket went into the heart. And then the heart closed back up. And one of the guys sitting there at the funeral starts to giggle. And the guy next to him says, "What's so funny?" He says, "I'm thinking about my funeral. I'm a gynecologist."